So earlier today, I came across the ultimate favorite Pokemon picker again. This complicated grid here to go through your favorite Pokemon in a variety of categories. And I started to just fill it out on my own time before I thought, you know what, why don't I fill it out here? Maybe it's not the most exciting content ever, but it also shouldn't take terribly long. I think a lot of people are familiar with this by now, but I'll put it in the description. And admittedly, I did get through the entire normal type column before I decided to restart here. So my reactions to the normal type options will not be genuine cold reactions, but after that will be in uncharted territory. So let's just go through the normal types again quickly. Gen 1 normal type, there are so many good options. I didn't even really think about Rattata last time. But you have to like this little purple guy. Farfetch'd is always very funny. But for me, this one came down to three main options. Eevee, of course, is very cute and is a Pokemon that represents a lot of untapped potential. Who knows what you might want to evolve it into. It's a classic Pokemon. Snorlax, of course, classic Pokemon. Very strong in some competitive formats. Also just an interesting and funny guy. And the third one might be a little surprising, but I strongly considered picking Tauros. It's maybe kind of a generic Pokemon design, but I don't know, it's a powerful one and pretty solid for Gen 1. But I did go with Eevee. Eevee is hard to beat. For Gen 2, favorite normal type, I like Aipom. It's not a Pokemon I think about a whole lot, but it's cool. Smeargle is a very interesting Pokemon, but I think for Gen 2... Oh, Dunsparce. I was going to say I picked Furret when I was going through earlier, but... You know what? I'm actually going to go with Dunsparce. Dunsparce is great. For Gen 3, this, I think, is the purple Kecleon from the anime, which is interesting to see here. I do like Kecleon a lot. I used it in my Sapphire playthrough way back in the day, but it's Zigzagoon. I know that Zigzagoon isn't a raccoon, it's a raccoon dog, but I didn't know that when I was a kid playing Gen 3 for the first time. And I come from a place that has a lot of raccoons, and this cute little design with the interesting fur pattern and so on really caught my attention in a big way. There are a lot of those sort of simple little Gen 3 designs that I think are great. Maybe we'll talk through some more of them as we go. Gen 4, I like Bibarel. Chatot cool, though the implementation of its gimmick was disappointing and kind of always had to be. But the pick is Staraptor here, for sure. Gen 5, they have all these weird Pokestar Studios things in here. I'm not going to take those seriously. But I think the pick for a Gen 5 normal type, I do like Meloetta quite a bit, but I went with Sawsbuck earlier, and I think I stand by that. I picked the winter form Sawsbuck earlier, but I actually think the summer one is the best for an exercise like this. It's the one that sort of best gets across what Sawsbuck is about as a generic representation of all four. For Gen 6 normal type, I mean, Fletchling's a cute little guy. Heliolisk is cool. They have every form of Furfrou here, but I'm definitely not picking a Furfrou. It's Pyroar. Gen 7. Honestly, not the strongest field. I like Drampa. I like Type Null and Silvally. I just went with Toucannon here. Gen 8. There are some very interesting options here. Gotta like all of the Hisuian normal types. Weirder, Ursaluna, Zorua, Zoroark. But there's a reason they marketed Wooloo as hard as they did. Wooloo is maybe not the most exciting Pokemon design, but it's a really good, really solid one. That said, I'm going with Double. I like Double a lot, and Double is underrated. That whole evolutionary family is just really solid for their role in the games. Finally, Gen 9. Obviously, you have to love Lechonk. Nobody doesn't love Lechonk, right? Farigiraf is cool. Hey, I've learned how to say its name now. Grafaiai, I like a lot. Not the biggest Dunsparce fan, but I actually, it's so new, I guess, it didn't really occur to me when I clicked on this that Terapagos was going to show up. Now, I think they might have revealed Terapagos too early, to be honest, because when I saw it on Pokemon Day last year, I was so excited. It was the reveal of the disc Pokemon that had been teased in the in-game books, and it had this amazing design, crystal, turtle, type symbol, shell. Love it very much. Honestly, by the time it actually became available in the DLC, the hype had worn off a little bit for me. And the Stellar form didn't do a lot to fix that. That said, I still gotta go with Terapagos here. There are very few Pokemon designs that are, to me, that awe-inspiring the first time I see them, and this one delivered. And for my favorite normal type, and this is the last thing before we're caught up and I actually have to think, maybe this is recency bias talking, but I actually went with Terapagos here too. Terapagos, I think, is something special design-wise. Obviously, I'll find out how I feel, you know, how well that take ages in the next year or two, but that's how I'm feeling right now. So now we're caught up, and I actually am going to have to think, and hopefully this will get a little more interesting as I do that. Gen 1 Fire type. There are a lot of really good ones. Charizard, Rapidash, Magmar, Flareon. But I've always loved Vulpix and Ninetales. They're kind of simple designs, but there's a great, I don't know, elegance to them. Ninetales is beautiful, and it looks wise and mysterious. Gotta go with Ninetales. Gen 2 Fire type. Now, I knew this was going to be hard. I could say something about every one of these. I wasn't even thinking about Magcargo when I clicked. And Entei is amazing, but definitely not it. What it comes down to for this one is Houndoom or Ho-Oh. Houndoom, amazing. Ho-Oh, so I was a Gen 2 kid, as I've talked about before. I used Ho-Oh on my in-game team, even though I was playing Silver version. Ho-Oh, I love legendary Pokemon, and Ho-Oh has always had that sort of power and mystery around it that they did really well with early series legendary Pokemon before they kind of changed how they designed them. It's Ho-Oh. I think that's pretty obvious already. Gen 3 Fire type, not a lot of options. Camerupt is just another really sort of simple but really solid Gen 3 design. I think Gen 3 was underrated for that. When I was a kid, not a kid, but like a teen, and Gen 4 and 5 were current gens, people really slept on Gen 3. People would say, oh, you know, I loved Kanto and Johto back in the day, but Ho and Pokemon designs just weren't it. But I think Ho and Pokemon designs are great. And like I said, I love a lot of the simple ones. Gen 4, there's not going to be much here, I think. No. To me, Chimchar is a solid, like, B-tier starter. I like the whole evolution line, but they're not among my favorites. And Heatran is maybe like a solid B-tier legendary. I'm not picking Magmortar. I'm going to go with Monferno. I think it's my favorite part of the Chimchar line. I think Infernape is cool too, but Monferno it's just a really good take on a middle stage starter. It's kind of small still, but it's getting bigger, getting stronger. Got that nice flame on its tail. Monferno it is. Gen 5. Oh, lots of good ones. I like Darmanitan. I like Volcarona. I like Reshiram. But ghost types are my favorite. The ghost type section is going to be interesting, I think. And Chandelure, I think, is good, but it's a little bit more awkward as a creature than Lampent. So I'm going to go with Lampent here. Lampent is just a really solid design. Gen 6 Fire type. I could just say Mega Houndoom or Primal Groudon. Yeah, let's just go Mega Houndoom. Easy. Gen 7 Fire type. Are they going to show up? Okay, good. A lot of Pokemon I like here, not a lot of my favorites. I don't know how we feel about Ultra Beasts, but I know how I feel about Ultra Beasts. I love weird, out there Pokemon designs like these, and look at me picking the Ghost type again. It's got to be Blacephalon. Blacephalon throws its head at the opponent and blows it up in a shower of fireworks. I don't think I need to say more than that. Gen 8. Not a lot of great ones here, I think. I think I just click on Hisuian Arcanine and move on. Gen 9. A lot of solid ones here. Gouging Fire is cool. These guys are cool. I think I'm going to go with Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu is a little bit funny in that it's a fire fish, and that I think it's... Like, legendary Pokemon often have those dialogue boxes when you interact with them, and I think Chi-Yu says splashy, doesn't it? Which is great. And it's very strong for being such a silly little guy. I like Chi-Yu a lot. And for my favorite fire type, this is tougher than the normal types. I think honorable mentions, Ninetales, Chi-Yu, Blacephalon, but it's got to be Ho-Oh. I think Ho-Oh is going to do extremely well in this whole thing overall. Moving on to the water type. got... Oh, right. There are so many water types. Okay, I think I can narrow this down. I like Slowbro, I like Dugong. I think I can narrow this down to Starmie, Gyarados, Lapras. I think Gyarados is third place there. I think Starmie has a very cool, mysterious feeling to it. Plus, I really enjoyed using Starmie in, like, Gen 4 OU. I never touched VGC until 2020, the pandemic. It was a good way to fill my time. Now it's the only format I play. But I used to play Smogon singles a lot for a long time. Very badly, always. I was never any good at it. But Starmie is such a varied Pokemon and what it can do that it was a lot of fun to use back then. Lapras, not so much, but Lapras has that friendly character to it. Ash rode his Lapras across the sea. It's useful and helpful and looks stronger than it is, perhaps. It's a tough one, for sure, but I'm going to go with Starmie. Then 2 water type. Some great ones here again. Octillery, Mantine, Suicune. But I've always really liked Lantern. I don't know why I like Lantern as much as I do. I think the combination of water and electric was very cool that early in the series. It's just got a really nice, kind of cute design to it. People often criticize the Johto games because the second generation Pokemon are relatively rare and in relatively obscure locations, but the flip side of that is that it can be cool as a kid growing up without complete information on what's in the game to actually find those Pokemon, maybe a Pokemon you didn't know about before, and I think Chinchou was kind of one of those for me when I fished it up in Olivine City. I'm not sure it was a Pokemon I heard of before then I evolved into this guy. Gen 3 water type, I definitely want to give a shout out to Wingull. Wingull is another just excellent, simple Gen 3 design. Just a little guy that can spit out a lot of water. That said, I think the pick here is Kyogre. Kyogre is another of my favorite legendary Pokemon. Not quite on the same level as Ho-Oh, I think, but I always loved the absolute forces of nature that the main Gen 3 legendaries were. They're like, if Kyogre so much as wakes up from its slumber, there are going to be massive rainstorms and floods all over the place. That was honestly so much cooler to me than even what they did in Gen 4 with the legendary Pokemon of time and space. That seemed like too much to me, and the designs seemed like a little much. But these guys are relatively simple, and they're just pure forces of nature. And it comes through, of course, when they get access to Primal Reversion as well. Kyogre is my favorite of those 3 designs. Gen 4 water type. Okay, I know Gastrodon has a serious fan base, but I just wanted to acknowledge that before I say I don't really love any of these that much. Weasel's alright. Liberal's alright, Empoleon's alright. I'm gonna go with Mantike. Mantike is cute. I actually like Mantike quite a bit. Gen 5, again, not the strongest field, I think. I like Frillish and Jellicent. There I go with my ghost types again. I'm gonna go with Keldeo. And I'm gonna go with this form of Keldeo. I don't know, the Resolute form just never quite grew on me the same way. Gen 6. I could just cop out and say Primal Kyogre. I actually like Mega Blastoise a lot. I'm not that big a Greninja fan. The tongue scarf really kind of bothers me a bit, honestly. Mega Slowbro is very funny. But I am just going to cop out and say Primal Kyogre. And 7. Tapu Fini is great. All of the Tapu are great. I like Primarina a lot. Very interesting starter design and gets the humanoid flavor that they want without going too hard into being a humanoid. There's not a lot else that I love here. I think it's Primarina or Tapu Fini, and I think it's Tapu Fini. Gen 8. Okay, Cramorant is a really funny guy. That might be the pick. Dracovish is funny too, but I don't know. I can't explain why I like Cramorant as much as I do, but I really like Cramorant. I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Gigantamax Blastoise. Probably the best take on a Blastoise super form. Probably the best take on a Kanto starter super form. I love using Gmax Cannonade in game. Great animation. I'll give an honorable mention to Origin Form Palkia. I really like this form of Palkia, and I really don't like its altered form, which seems like it's an unpopular opinion from talking with people about it. I think this one's a huge improvement on the original Palkia. But yeah, it's got to be my funny guy, Cramorant, and I'll take him at his funniest. Gen 9 Water type. This one is pretty easy. Apologies to Palafin. I like Palafin a lot. Apologies to Iron Bundle too, but Walking Wake is for sure my favorite Paradox Pokemon. Walking Wake is such an incredible take on what a Paradox Pokemon can be. And obviously I'm turning into a real Iron Leaves enjoyer as I've drafted my current draft league team around it, and that's going pretty well so far. But turning Suicune into a... I interpret it as a raptor at first, but it's very big. I think it might be more of a T-Rex kind of creature. But taking Suicune, this guy, and turning it into that is the kind of weirdness and creativity that I really like to see in gimmick Pokemon like the Paradox Pokemon. This is... I said that I didn't think this was going to take very long. I was badly mistaken, wasn't I? We're still in the third type, but favorite water type overall. Honestly, there's a case for Walking Wake. There's a real case for Kyogre. Starmie and Lantern are here too. I'm gonna go with... how am I... I'm tempted by Kyogre. And I feel like I might just be recency biased like crazy here, but I'm going with Walking Wake for my favorite water type out of all the water types in the games, and there's so many. Gen 1 Grass. Venusaur's great. Ivysaur, design-wise, I think I like a little more. Oddish is solid. Victory Bell. Exeggutor. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Ivysaur. Gen 2 Grass. Celebi, I think. I love the Chikorita line. I really do. Pop-Up's cool. But Celebi, I mean, I was influenced a lot by the early Pokemon movies as a kid around that time. Celebi was very cute and funny in that movie. I've also really enjoyed using Celebi in competitive play when I can. Obviously not in VGC, although I did use it in Series 13 last generation. But like Gen 3, 4, 5 OU, Celebi was always my favorite Pokemon to use. It could do so many things, more of them in earlier gens than in others. But it was great. I would try to shoehorn it onto my teams when I could, pretty much. Gen 3 Grass. A lot of good options here, but Trico is my second favorite starter all time, and by a small margin. Trico or Sceptile? I'm gonna go with Trico, but yeah, big Trico enjoyer. Gen 4. This is my favorite Rotom form, for sure. I love the cheesy grin. And the idea of a lawnmower chasing you down. And honestly, it's not the strongest field. Roserade has kind of an elegance to it. I like Shaman. Shaman's a solid, cute, but powerful mythical Pokemon design. Leafeon's good. Oh, and Rotom-Mow. Gen 5 Grass type. Well, I said that Trico is my second favorite starter. Here's my favorite, but I think it's my most favorite in its evolved form. Serperior. Speaking of elegant Pokemon that have a lot of human personality without going too hard into a humanoid body type, they really knocked it out of the park with Serperior. I also had a lot of fun using it in the Unova games, playing through them. Get like a set of like Coil, Leaf Blade, Giga Drain, Leech Seed. Could grind through a lot of stuff. Gen 6 Grass type. I'm a big Sceptile enjoyer. I'm actually not a big Mega Sceptile enjoyer. I don't like its gimmick of turning its back to the opponent. I get that it launches its tail because some lizards can separate their tails. I understand that, but I don't like the aesthetic that it results in. Skiddo and Gogoat are really solid designs. I don't even have much more to say about them. They're not like stellar, but they're just really solid. They have a good little niche in this world, I think. So Gogoat it is. Gen 7. Rowlet is adorable. Alolan Exeggutor is a funny guy. Kartana's cool. Tapu Bulu is cool. I'm gonna not overthink this and pick Alolan Exeggutor. Gen 8. I really like the whole Applin family, but especially Flapple. I feel like Appleton is, at least before Scarlet and Violet DLC, I feel like Appleton is the beloved Pokemon here, but I actually prefer Flapple. Hisuian Lilligant is cool. So is Hisuian Decidueye. But yeah, I know what the answer is here. It's Flapple. Good take on a dragon, too. Gen 9. Wow, there are a lot of grass types in Gen 9. Sprigatito is adorable. Wo-Chen. All of the Treasures of Ruin are awesome. I'm sure more than just Chi will show up somewhere in here. Like I said, I'm turning into a big Iron Leaves enjoyer, but I'm not going to call it the greatest grass type design. It's better than people say, but Hydrapple is cool. Maybe I just haven't had enough time for Hydrapple to grow on me. Hey, because it's a grass type, folks. Okay. Sinistcha is cool. Oh, Wo-Chen. And my favorite grass type, it's Celebi or Serperior. And that is tough. They're both Pokemon that I've enjoyed using a lot in different settings. They both have something special to them. I'd say this is my favorite mythical, and I'd say this is my favorite starter. I guess I've done more things in-game with Serperior. And Celebi is carried pretty hard by the movie, to an extent, while Serperior's design and gameplay kind of speak for themselves. I'm going with Serperior. My favorite grass type. Electric. Pikachu is excellent. I was sometimes the kid who was like, oh, this Pokemon's too popular, too heavily marketed, these other ones are cooler. But no, they nailed it with Pikachu. They were right. I also love Raichu. Raichu is kind of slept on because Pikachu is so heavily marketed, but Raichu is an awesome Pokemon design, and I had a lot of fun using it in Sword and Shield VGC at a bunch of different points. A bunch of other solid Pokemon here, but no real superstars, so I think it's either Pikachu or Raichu, and I think I have to go with Pikachu. Call it a basic choice if you want. Gen 2 Electric. You could say something about any of these Pokemon. Maybe not Flaffy, maybe not Elekid. I like legendaries. I'm biased toward legendaries from my first game. Raikou is my favorite of the three beasts, in fact. Lantern's great, Ampharos is great, Mareep is great. That's Raikou. Gen 3. Wow, there are not very many, huh? Manectric is, I mean, I love the sprite for Manectric in particular. It just looks like a boss. I don't know what to tell you. Gen 4. This Pichu is from a spin-off game, I think. I don't even remember which one. I barely played any spin-off games. I think I'm probably just going to pick Rotom-Mow again. Luxray is obviously worth considering. Luxray is great, but Rotom-Mow is just too funny. Too funny. Gen 5, there's Zekrom, and there's a bunch of stuff. I like Zebstrika a lot. Zebstrika has a very Zeb-striking design, if you will. I'll give an honorable mention to Stunfisk. Stunfisk is a very funny guy, but Zebstrika is one of my absolute favorites from Gen 5 for sure. Like, I think these two, Serperior and Zebstrika, are my two favorite Gen 5 Pokemon. Gen 6, not a lot of options here. I think Mega Manectric is the one. Love what they did with the hair on a Pokemon that was already pretty cool. Gen 7, they put all the Cap Pikachu forms in Gen 7. I guess they would, but this is either Tapu Koko or Circuitry for sure. And you know, I like my weird Ultra Beasts. This guy doesn't even have a discernible face. How cool is that? Gen 8, G-Max Pikachu is pretty good. I'm really not a Toxtricity fan. I don't know why people love it as much as they do. Sorry, comment if you're mad. The G-Max form is pretty cool. I'm gonna go with Regieleki. Regieleki's a funny little bouncy guy. And Gen 9 Electric type. Not a lot of star power here, in my opinion. Miraidon's okay, but I think it's got to be Raging Bolt. And I like Raging Bolt a fair bit. Honestly, not nearly as much as I like Walking Wake. I think they pulled the idea off much better with Walking Wake than they did with either of the other two. But honestly, to me, this is not an especially strong field. Favorite electric type all time. We got Manectric versus Mega Manectric. We got Raikou versus Raging Bolt. I have worried at some points here about being recency biased, but I'm definitely also biased toward the coolest Pokemon from the earliest parts of my childhood. My favorite electric type is Raikou. Ice. I like the Ice type a lot. It's very slept on. Gen 1. I was about to say, oh, here's Lapras's turn, but no, of course it's Articuno. If you watch my Articuno video, if you didn't, I love Articuno. Articuno might be my second favorite Pokemon overall. I think there's a very good chance of that. Gen 2 Ice types. Delibird's cool, but you have to love Sneasel. You don't have to. You're not. I'm not gonna go after you if you don't love Sneasel, but I love Sneasel. Gen 3. I like Glalie a lot. I don't know if I've ever really understood what Glalie is supposed to be, but just kind of a badass guy. But I think that Sfeel might be the cutest Pokemon there is. Look at how round it is. Look at those eyes. Look at those little teeth. I'm not sure there's a Pokemon cuter than Sfeel. Gen 4, not the strongest field, I think. I'm sure someone thinks Mamoswine is incredible. I think Mamoswine's alright, but I don't love it. The tusks look kind of awkward to me. Glaceon is not the most in-your-face design, but there's an elegance to it for sure. I think it's either Weavile or Frostlass here. I like Frostlass a lot, but I think it's Weavile. Gen 5... To me, this is a really weak field. And it's either Cryogonal or Black Kyurem. I don't think any of these other guys are worth thinking about here, even though Beartic is on my draft team right now. That doesn't save my overall impression of it as a Pokemon. Maybe if it puts in work in the rest of the season. Cryogonal is a funny guy. Gen 6. Aurorus is pretty solid. And there's literally not a lot else here. Gen 7. I love the Ice-type Alolan forms. Every one of them. They're such a perfect, beautiful, early example of what regional forms can be. I'm actually not a... what is this guy called? I'm not a Crabominable hater. I know there are a lot of Crabominable haters. I'm not one of them. But every one of these blows Crabominable out of the water. And much like how I was just captivated by the beauty and implied mystery in Ninetales' design, I have to go with Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales is the greatest work they've ever done on a regional form. Gen 8, a lot of good ice types. VMAX Lapras. Mr. Rime is pretty funny. Calyrex, whatever. I know Snom has a lot of fans. I'm more of a Frostmoth enjoyer. I think we'll see when we get to the bug types that I like Butterfly and Moth Pokemon. Part of that is what they can do. Like Quiver Dance is a really cool move that you want to see put in work in a game. At least I want to. They get all their powders, and they can usually throw off some wind-based attacks and stuff. And Frostmoth takes all of that and combines it with probably my second favorite type, Ice. And I mean, what's not to love? Gen 9. I like Cetitan. I like Iron Bundle. It's got to be Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao is a sword, snow leopard, weasel, ice type. It doesn't get much better than that. My favorite ice type. Honorable mentions, Alolan Ninetales. Honorable mention, Chien-Pao. This is honestly a harder choice than I thought it would be, because this is the second video where I'm talking up Articuno as my favorite legendary. That is who it's going to have to be. But it overcame some tough competition to get here for sure. How many types left? Good lord. Okay, fighting. I thought this would be a quick, easy little video. Gen 1 fighting. Primeape is Poliwrath is Machamp is like a really solid, basic Generation 1 fighting type design, but I think it's Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, and I think it's Hitmonlee. I think Hitmonlee is such an interesting creature. Obviously the idea is just optimized for kicking, but like these weird sunken eyes and Otherwise, no face and no real head separate from its body. It's an interesting dude for sure. Gen 2 fighting type, there are not very many, and I think it has to be Ash's funny little bug, Heracross. Gen 3. Breloom is cool. Hariyama is cool too, but Breloom is probably the gold standard for mushroom Pokemon design-wise. There's a sentence. Gen 4. Might be about to disappoint some Lucario fans. I think Lucario is cool. Of course it is. But I'm more of a Gallade fan. Gallade is also a Pokemon that is fairly versatile in what it can do. Is a sort of heroic figure, humanoid figure. I think Gallade pulls it off in a way that's a little more interesting to me. Gen 5, so many fighting types this generation. What on earth is this guy doing here? This must be a Pokestar Studios thing. Swords of Justice are all here. Keldeo, I think, is my favorite of those. And that might be enough in this field. I don't love any of these other guys. They're not bad, but none of my favorite Pokemon are showing up on this list. I think it is Keldeo again. Gen 6. Pancham and Pangoro are great. They have a ton of personality packed into some otherwise pretty simple designs. I think, in terms of artistry, I'm no expert, but I think Game Freak really nailed it with these guys. Hawlucha is a great, funny guy Pokemon of the type that's been doing extremely well in my rankings here. But Mega Gallade takes Gallade's design to the next level in just the perfect way for what the Mega Evolution mechanic is, and that has to be my pick here, I think. Then 7. I like Buzzwole and Pheromosa quite a bit. I like my weird Ultra Beasts. But picking the Ghost type again. Marshadow. Little spooky shadowy guy. Definitely right up my alley. Gen 8. We all love Sirfetch'd, right? I hope so. Galarian Zapdos is cool. Hisuian Lilligant. But Sneasler is so funny. I saw people complaining about Sneasler when Legends Arceus came out, and I couldn't believe it. Sneasler might be my favorite Hisuian Pokemon. It's so funny. It's just long Galarian Sneasel. It's such a funny guy. Gen 9. Ugh. Great Tusk is cool, but apparently I'm more of a Gallade enjoyer than I knew, and I love the twist that Iron Valiant puts on it, and I love Iron Valiant's blades, the way they attach and detach from its arms. I love Iron Valiant as the sort of the cold, emotionless robot version of this evolutionary line that is fully designed around emotions, and it just looks awesome. Iron Valiant it is. Favorite fighting type? I have no idea what I'm going to pick. Sneasler is so funny, but I don't think it's the winner here. I think it's probably either Mega Gallade or Iron Valiant. Marshadow's great, too. I don't know. I think that Iron Valiant works in significant part because Mega Gallade exists, but I don't know that I should weigh that in favor of Mega Gallade. But you know what? I don't think I will. Iron Valiant. You know what? Call it Detachable Blade Diff. Poison types, Gen 1. Oh my god, there's so many. I like Nidoking a lot. Nidoking was kind of my childhood idea of what a strong Pokemon is. Like, Nidoking shows up early in the Pokedex and is built up as this powerhouse that can, I don't know, crush things with its tail. I don't really remember the Dex entry that well. All that said, why am I talking about it for so long? My favorite Pokemon is here. What am I doing? Yeah, okay. I like funny guys. I like ghost types. You probably saw this one coming. If you didn't know, if I haven't said before what my favorite Pokemon is, it probably wasn't much of a mystery. Gen 2, these are all great. I'll go with Spinarak. Spinarak, maybe it's just the coloring, but Spinarak is kind of a striking design for otherwise a pretty simple early game bug. Gen 3. No superstars here, but Seviper is just a pretty solid Gen 3 simple design. I guess it's more complex than many. Maybe simple wasn't the word there. Gen Or I glossed over it earlier. So, oh yeah, Roserade's kind of elegant, but Roserade is. It's a good design. That just isn't one of my top favorites. But in this field, I think we can give it the spot. Gen 5. I don't love any of these. I could just pick a Moongus. Venipede's alright. Venipede's just kind of a solid bug type. Gen 6. I could go Mega Gengar. Honestly, Mega Beedrill is great too. Beedrill is an awesome Pokemon that I didn't really talk about in Gen 1 because my favorite Pokemon was there, but I'll just go Mega Gengar. Gen 7. It's an Ultra Beast for sure. Not a doubt in the world that it's an Ultra Beast. And a huge honorable mention to Nihilego. Nihilego is such a weird, creepy Pokemon design. It really pushed the boundaries in a good way for what this series could do. And hey, no discernible face like his buddy over here. But I guess I like these, I talked up Flapple earlier. I guess I like these cool winged dragon designs. I was a kid who drew dragons in my school notes sometimes. And Naganadel I think is my favorite Ultra Beast. But it's close between it and Nihilego in this category here. Maybe Blacephalon is my favorite Ultra Beast. Probably won't have to worry about that. Gen 8. I think Galarian Weezing is so funny. I loved when they revealed that. It is such a good take on a regional variant. But you know who else is a funny guy? The Sneasler. Gen 9. Cloudsire's cute. Lamora sort of has that interesting air of mystery to it. Pecharunt's funny. But I really like Grafaiai. Grafaiai, it's not as simple a design as Pancham and Pangoro, but it's another one that packs in a lot of personality as I'm looking at it here. And my favorite poison type, not really any point in any suspense, is Gengar. On to the ground type. Gen 1. A lot of very sort of basic first generation Pokemon designs as you'd expect, but a lot of very good ones. Nidoking, Golem, Onix, Rhyhorn, and Rhydon. I am going to go with Nidoking for the reasons I talked it up earlier, so good thing I did that. Gen 2, I like Donphan a lot. I like Gligar a lot. Gligar is one of the early, really funny guys in Pokemon. I think that's got to be the pick. Gen 3, I'm a Flygon fan for sure. I might even be a bigger Vibrava fan. No, I think I pick Flygon here if it's that line. And the alternatives are pretty much Camerupt and Groudon. Groudon's great. I don't love it like I love Kyogre. I think I'm biased towards special attackers more than physical attackers. In fact, I know I am. I've sometimes chosen a game version partly based on whether the legendary is a special attacker or a physical attacker. That was a not insignificant part of why I chose black over white. Groudon is amazing. I don't think it gets quite the edge that Kyogre gets here, and I think we gotta go with Flygon. Gen 4, Hippowdon is awesome, Garchomp is awesome, Gliscor is my guy for sure. Not as funny as Gligar, but I don't know, preserving a lot of the design elements that I like while making them actually strong and imposing. Gen 5 has some very good ground types. Well, mostly the Sandile line. I think they're pretty easily my favorites here. Landorus is okay, but which one of the Sandile line? I think Sandile itself. It's always been kind of weird to me that Crocodile turns red. I don't know why it does that. Krokorok is just kind of there in the middle. Sandile wins. Gen 6. Little bit on the slim picking side here. I mean, they're all super forms of earlier gen Pokemon except these two. I like the Gen 6 legendaries a lot. I think that's going to come up again. They're probably my favorite legendary designs outside of like the first 3 generations. I think they really nailed them. I think it's going to be Zygarde here. And that could continue with 2 more Zygarde forms in Generation 7. And the alternatives are not super strong. Mudsdale's alright, but no, I think it is complete form Zygarde. Easy. Gen 8. Again, the ground types, there's just not a lot to choose from, huh? Sandaconda's okay, but it's gotta be Ursaluna. And Gen 9. This is a little more like it. We got some interesting Paradox Pokemon. We got Blood Moon Ursaluna, which I love that that's a thing they put in the game. That's a great little bit of creativity and a creative twist on an old-ish Pokemon from an earlier game. The Treasures of Ruin are such solid legendary designs. It's got to be Ting-Lu. Favorite ground type? Oh man. It's Flygon, Gliscor, or Zygarde. And for once I'm defying recency bias because I think it's Flygon. Just hard to beat. Flying. This is going to be a tough category, I already know. Gen 1 flying types. It's definitely Articuno, but there are so many honorable mentions here. Like Zapdos and Moltres, but also Dragonite's here, Aerodactyl's here. Good lord. If I start talking about all of them, I'll ramble forever. Gen 2. Here's where I have to choose between Lugia and Ho-Oh. Again, you've got Gligar, you've got Mantine, you've got Skarmory, but it's definitely coming down to these guys. I was a silver version kid. Ho-Oh's lore is better by design. Like, they kind of neglected Lugia in comparison to Ho-Oh. Lugia is weird looking, but that can kind of cut either way with me. I use even though I was a silver version kid, of course they weren't version exclusive, and I used both of them. I think I'm going to betray my roots and pick Ho-Oh. It brought Pokemon back from the dead. It leaves a rainbow behind it as it flies. Lugia is amazing. Lugia would win any of these other generations down here, guaranteed. But I have to pick one. I think it's Ho-Oh. Gen 3. Rayquaza. Another amazing, powerful force of nature, super ancient legendary. Wingle's a fun little bird. Rayquaza, though. Gen 4. And here's where I have to choose between Yanmega and Gliscor. Probably my two favorite 4th generation Pokemon. I'm not even looking at Honchkrow here, or Shaman. The actual bug, or the weird sort of bug, sort of bat. I think it's Gliscor. Yanmega's probably going to win Gen 4 bug type, I would think. Gen 5. I like Tornadus a lot. It's my favorite of these three for sure. And it really broke new ground as the first pure flying type. Emolga's cute. I gotta go with my funny guy Sigilyph. I have to. Wow, they got every form of Vivillon in here. I do like Vivillon. But compared to Hawlucha, Noibat, Noivern, Mega Rayquaza, Mega Pinsir. I love what they did with Pinsir with Mega Evolution. I mean, Vivillon is not even top 5, I think. And I haven't even mentioned the actual pick here, Yveltal. The Gen 6 legendaries, they just capture what they're about so perfectly, even as they're forced into these letter designs. Like Yveltal, yeah, it's a letter Y here, but it looks like this eagle vulture that's going to show up and feed on the dead. I don't know. I don't have the words. I'm not an artist. I don't know the words, but they just nailed it with all three of them. Gen 7. Rowlet's cute. Minior's great. I don't know what form of Minior I would pick. Let's go with Rowlet. Gen 8. We got my funny guy Cramorant again. We also have the Galarian legendary birds, which are all amazing, but Articuno is still my favorite. We also have Gigantamax Butterfree with those shining wings. Such a great twist on a classic but often overlooked Pokemon. I'm gonna go with Galarian Articuno, but props to Gmax Butterfree for sure. Gen 9. Not the strongest field. I like Iron Jugulus perhaps more than its design merits. But I'll just go with Wattrel. Wattrel's cute. Favorite flying type? Well, I think you know where this is going. It's Articuno, but look at this field. How do you choose favorite flying types? This is unreal. Honestly, like, maybe I should pause the video here. It's getting way longer than I intended, and this is just... well, let's just power through. Favorite psychic type? Gen 1. Starmie's here. But Mewtwo, I mean... I didn't appreciate Mewtwo enough as a kid. Partly because you had to have a take in the schoolyard argument about which is better, Mewtwo or Mew, and I chose Mew partly because it's cute and partly out of contrarianism, I think. But Mewtwo is such a I think they designed Mewtwo before they designed Mew, so I don't know that I can call it a twist on Mew's design, but it's such a well-executed, more humanoid, more combat-oriented, so powerful in its psychic abilities that it needs a fluid tube in the back of its head. Looks like it could beat you up with its fists, too. Doesn't even need its powers to take you in a fight. They really nailed it with Mewtwo. They have every form of unknown in here. That's pretty funny. We're just going to pick Lugia. We do have my favorite evolution here, but come on, you knew where this was going if you're this far in. Gen 3 Psychic type. I like Latios and Latios a lot. I also like Jirachi a lot. I'm not going to take Shadow Lugia seriously as an option. I never played XD. I'm gonna go with Latias. Of these two twins, it's the one that I have fonder memories with. I mostly played Sapphire growing up, and Latias was on my in-game team. Pretty straightforward. Also had a great role in that movie with Ash. Gen 4 Psychic type. Cresselia is a good, elegant legendary. Not as big a fan of these three. I get what they were going for, just didn't really land right with me. But I've talked about Gallade already. Gen 5 Psychic type. We are right back to my funny guy Sigilyph. Don't really like these, don't really like these. These are okay. And moving on. Gen 6 Psychic type. I said that the original Mewtwo is an amazing design. I'm not that big a fan of its Mega Forms. Neither one of them. Mega Metagross is awesome. Never played... what game is this? Pokken Tournament? But, again, I've talked up Mega Gallade already. Probably saw that coming. Gen 7. Oh my god, I forgot how good the Gen 7 legendary designs are. There's not really a wrong answer between Solgaleo, Lunala, and... what's it called? Ultra Necrozma. But you know me by now. I like ghost types. And I'm kind of a night owl. Always have been. And Lunala sort of has the look of a majestic figure. Majestic isn't the right word, but sort of an awe-inspiring figure in the night sky. Solgaleo is very visually striking too. I think it's fair to call it more striking, as if they kind of wanted players to choose it. But Lunala is for sure my favorite of that generation. Gen 8. Galarian Articuno is solid. I really like Galarian Ponyta and Rapidash for sure. Calyrex horse forms are solid. I'm just gonna go with Galarian Articuno. Gen 9. Armarouge stands out. Farigiraf stands out. I like Iron Crown a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Iron Crown. And my favorite Psychic type. There are a lot of strong contenders here, like Lunala, Mega Gallade. I think it's gotta be Lugia. Silver version kid, remember? Oh boy, okay, 7 types left. And the next one is Bug. Gen 1 Bug type. Butterfree's great, Beedrill's great, Venomoth's great. I think it's Beedrill. I think Beedrill is a really good, simple, threatening, but not too strong early game design. I think Beedrill, there's a reason they always had Ash and Team Rocket running away from Wild Beedrill in the anime. It's just great for filling that role in the ecosystem of the games. Gen 2, like these guys a lot, like these guys a lot. This, but Yanma, I think, is the one. Gen 3. Not my favorite bug types all around. Armaldo is interesting. Gen 4. Gotta be on Mega. Gen 5. Some really good bug types here. I like Dwebble and Crustle a lot. I like Galvantula. But Volcarona is a great take on a Fire-type moth. Gen 6. We got every form of Vivillon again, but I said it already. I love what they did with Mega Pinsir. Pinsir is not a Pokemon that you think about even having wings when you look at it. Giving it actual flight in its Mega form. This was my favorite Mega Evolution when X and Y came out, before Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire gave us Mega Gallade. Like, I forced a Pinsir onto my in-game team in the post-game once I got its Mega Stone, because I just liked it that much. Gen 7. Rubombi is very cute, and I enjoyed using it in Sword and Shield VGC when I was first dabbling. There was a slightly gimmicky, but not the most gimmicky strat where you would pair Speed Swap Rubombi with Gigantamax Snorlax with a Healing Berry and Gmax Replenish, I think its move was called, and Belly Drum. So you get your +6 Snorlax with a pretty high speed stat from Rubombi, throwing off boosted normal attacks that also effectively heal it if the right conditions are met. Rubombi was great on that team. Sadly, it doesn't get speed swap anymore, but it's still very cute. Gen 8. Kleavor's cool. Frostmoth is cool. But I already talked up Gmax Butterfree. Can't be surprised, right? Gen 9. None of my favorites here. Slitherwing's alright. That's probably enough to do it. And my favorite bug type. I think it is a bug and flying type, but I don't know which one. Yanmega, Mega Pinsir, Gmax Butterfree. I think I'm going to give this one to Gmax Butterfree. It's hard to beat those shining wings. And I haven't even mentioned Gmax Befuddle, which was such a funny move to use in battles with its random status effect. And you can try to do setup Quiver Dance stuff. Gen 1 Rock. I like Golem a lot. I like Onyx a fair bit. I like Rhydon a lot, but Aerodactyl is just such a great, imposing winged creature. Gen 2 Rock. I like that they were already going outside the box this gen. Macargo's cool. I think enough of my Silver Nuzlocke is public now that, you know, Corsola has really grown in my eyes of late. But come on, it's Tyranitar. Gen 3. I really like this line. Regirock's cool, but no, it's gotta be Aggron. Aggron's a beast. Gen 4. Don't really love any of these guys. Probopass is funny guy enough for me. Gen 5. Archon and Archeops are great, sort of striking designs. But Dwebble is cute. This one. Mega Diancie is stunning and such a good take on Mega Evolution for Diancie. And the way that it's stat swap around and it becomes an offensive threat, I had a lot of fun using it back in the day. These are great Megas as well. These are probably the best fossil Pokemon in the games, except maybe Aerodactyl. But it's got to be Mega Diancie. Gen 7. Nihilego finally gets some redemption as one of the weirdest and creepiest Ultra Beasts. Gen 8. Kleavor's cool, but I think Hisuian Arcanine is cooler. Gen 9. I forgot about Cloth. Cloth is not an especially memorable Pokemon, but it looks so funny here. I'm actually not that big an Iron Thorns fan, maybe because I'd seen Mecha Tyranitar already in Pokestar Studios. It didn't feel like it was breaking new ground. I think it's got to be Glamora, especially after I used Glamora in the Global Challenge a little while ago and it didn't work. And my favorite rock type, I think it's Mega Diancie. I think Mega Diancie it's such a stunning design. I think it really stands out in this field. Now we get to my favorite type, Ghost. Like an hour in, which is way longer than I thought this would take, so it's going to be fun. It's Gengar. Gen 2. Oh, who could it be? Gen 3. I like Bayonet, but I think Sableye just has kind of a tighter design. Gen 4. Love the witchy take on Mischievous when it evolves into Mismagius. Gen 5. Lampent for the same reasons as before. Gen 6. This is actually easier than I thought it would be. These guys are great. Mega Gengar is still pretty cool. I think it's Mega Gengar. Gen 7. Gen 7 is tough. There are so many good ghost types in Gen 7. I have to... Decidueye, Mimikyu, Lunala, Blacephalon, and Marshadow are here, and I have to pick one. And I think that one is Mimikyu. Mimikyu is... There's so much packed into that design. It's creepy, and it's kind of funny, and it's kind of sad, and it makes a little neck-breaking sound when you break its disguise. When you break its disguise. Got the little bit of wood. Use wood hammer. Eye holes down here. There's so much going on with Mimikyu's design, and they pulled it off so well. Gen 8. I really like Poltegeist. Poltegeist is a funny guy. Galarian Corsola is maybe a little too sad for me. But hey, good on them spreading ecological awareness. These guys are great. But yeah, I think it's Poltegeist. Gen 9. Ceruledge is very cool. Huh. You know what? I thought I'd have more to say after that. I like Sinistcha. I think it's Ceruledge. And my favorite ghost type is Gengar. Okay. Dragon. Gen 1. Dragonair has a beauty to it that Dratini just isn't big enough for yet, and is kind of lost when it turns into Dragonite. I like Dragonite, but it's got to be Dragonair. Gen 2. Yeah, I wonder. Gen 3. We got Flygon, Latias, and Rayquaza head-to-head. Flygon fan that I am. Gotta stick with my guy. Gen 4. I don't like these legendaries that much. They're okay, but they're no Garchomp. Gen 5. Honestly, I'm not that into most of the Gen 5 Dragon types either. I never really got the appeal of the Haxorus line. They look kind of awkward to me more than anything else. Not gonna lie. The Hydreigon line are alright, but they're maybe overdoing it a bit for me. I do actually like Druddigon quite a bit, but I think it's got to be one of these three. And I think by the slimmest of margins over Zekrom, it's Reshiram. Pure white, burning fire. Yeah, it's great. Well, it's pretty good. Gen 6 Dragon type. And I mean, I could pick Tyrantrum, or I could pick Noivern, but I'm not going to because I have Mega Rayquaza. The most badass, over the top, but in a good way, Mega design there is. Gen 7. It's Ultra Necrozma or it's Naganadel. And I think it's Ultra Necrozma. It's just hard to beat this stunning light dragon. I like Regidrago a lot. I've never even really understood why. I think the Dragon Energy animation in Sword and Shield had a lot to do with it. It was a fantastic move animation that I'm sad to not see anymore in Scarlet and Violet. All of that is to say that Regidrago is actually a pretty strong contender here. So is Origin Form Palkia. Both of them just really tickle something in my brain that I don't entirely understand. But I'm going to stick with my guy Flapple. Gen 9. Well, okay, it's Walking Wake. I love what they did with Walking Wake. I think they pulled it off better than they did with these two. Hydrapple's cool, but no, it's Walking Wake. I was so excited when Walking Wake was revealed, and unlike Terapagos, I got access to it right then and didn't have time for the hype to wear off. Favorite Dragon type? Oh man, Dragonair, Mega Rayquaza, Ultra Necrozma, Walking Wake. I think it's Dragonair. Dragonair is such a good Gen 1 design in that it has this sleek and fairly simple look to it, but there's a real beauty that is hard for me to put into words because I don't know how to talk about art. I think that's the pick. Dark types. What on earth is this? There are no dark types in Gen 1, that's why they did this. The Substitute Doll. Actually, it's missing now, because that's more interesting. Houndoom can finally get its due in Gen 2. Gen 3, I like Mightyena and Poochyena. Absol's okay. Sableye, it's probably Sableye. Gen 4, I like Darkrai a lot, but I think it's no Weavile. Gen 5, I got Bryson Man in here. Sandile strikes again. Gen 6, Feltoll. The good news is, with so many dual-type Pokemon, I'm finding as we get deeper into this that I've said a lot of what I want to say already. This is not the strongest field. I'm not super into this whole field. Alolan Rattata has a funny mustache, though. Gen 8, I do like Impidimp's coloring for sure, and its silly pose. It gets a little weird as it gets all this hair on it as Grimmsnarl. Galarian Moltres is cool. I think that's enough in this field. Gen 9, we got all 4 Treasures of Ruin, and I think it's going to be one of them. Who's my favorite Treasure of Ruin? Well, I I think Ting-Lu is a little too plain. I think Wo-Chien just doesn't have the star power. I think Chi-Yu is great, but it's just not a sword, snow leopard, ice guy. I think it's Chen Pao. And my favorite dark type, Houndoom, Yveltal, or Chen Pao. I think Houndoom is hard to beat. Steel. We have some in Gen 1. Magnemite. Not as cluttered as Magneton, on account of it being one creature. Gen 2. No bad options here, except maybe Fortress. Skarmory is very cool. I like how Skarmory is sort of written into the lore. Like, its wings are hard because it roosts in thorny bushes or something, and then it has knife-like blades that it can use to hunt. It's a really good take on a Steel-type Pokemon living in a natural environment. Here we got Aggron or Jirachi. I think it's Jirachi. Jirachi has trouble competing in the Psychic type category, but it's a very cute little guy with incredible power. Hard to beat that. Probopass is a funny guy. What on earth is this? Not my favorite options here. Bisharp's alright. Gen 6 Steel types. Klefki is a funny little Pokemon that hasn't come up yet. Klefki is one of those Pokemon that's not one of my absolute favorites in its generation or overall, but I'm always a little happy when I see it show up on my screen. For sure. Gen 7 here. Oh, Magearna is great. I like Magearna a lot, but I think we can give Solgaleo its moment in the sun, so to speak, here. Actually, there's Alolan Sandslash, though. Solgaleo or Alolan Sandslash, that's a tough one. I'm still going to give it to Solgaleo. Gen 8. I'm not that big a Zacian fan. I like using it in-game, but I think it kind of looks awkward holding the sword like this. Zamazenta's okay, but just okay. Did I skip over Melmetal? I did, but I think that's correct. I think Zacian beats Melmetal. I think it's either Meowth or Berserker. And Berserker is such a funny Viking Cheshire Cat guy. Tinkaton is excellent. Iron Crown is cool, but I don't think it's excellent. My favorite Steel type. Jirachi, Solgaleo, Tinkaton, Klefki. I think we give this one to Jirachi. One type left, and it's Fairy, and then there's some other stuff here. Gen 1 Fairy type. Clefable's pretty cute. Gen 2 Fairy type. Togetic's pretty cute. Gen 3 Fairy type. Mawile is an interesting, sort of quirky Pokemon. Gen 4. Literally, these are our options. I don't know, man. I've used Togekiss and VGC a bit. And 5. Whimsicott has almost literally no competition, but it's a cool Pokemon. And 6. We got every form of Flabebe, Floette, and Florges, including a turtle, but there was no need for that because Xerneas is such a stunning Pokemon design. Such a great take on the first Fairy-type Legendary. I know I talked about Mega Diancie earlier, but I think it's gotta be Xerneas. My favorite of the Legendary trio that I like a lot, all the way through. Gen 7. I like all the Tapu. I like Primarina. I love Alolan Ninetales. This should be a tough category, but I've said my piece about Mimikyu and I'm standing by it. Gen 8. I really like G-Max Alchemy. Honestly, it has the unfortunate side effect of making regular Alchemy look kind of boring. But it's gotta be G-Max Alchemy. Gen 9. I love Darkspun. I used Darkspun at my in-game team. I took Darkspun to NAIC last year. It's kind of simple. It's a bread dog, but it's such a good design, and I think it beats Iron Valiant here. My favorite Fairy type, Xerneas. I don't even really need to think about too much about that one. Favorite starter, beats Generation. They are giving me Pikachu and Eevee for Gen 1. Makes things a little bit more interesting. In fact, I think I go Pikachu here. Gen 2. Totodile is my favorite on the whole. But I think my favorite individual Pokemon design here is Quilava. And 3. There you go. And 4. This is tough. I like all 3 of them about equally as starters. I think I'll go with Empoleon. So, it's got some personality to it for sure. You know what the answer to this is going to be. Gen 6. Fennekin's cute. Brixton is a good take on the Witch Fox before it gets a little weird in Delphox form. Chespin is very cute. I'll go with Brixton. Gen 8. Primarina. No. Primarina's great, but I like Decidueye more. Gen 9. We got Hisuian starters mixed in here, and we might need them because the Galar starters are not that strong in field. I think Decidueye just takes back-to-back wins. Gen 9. Waikoko is a very funny guy. Brigatito is very cute. Waikoko is a very funny guy. Favorite overall, Superior. Gimmick forms. Oh man. Gmax Blastoise is great, but it's gotta be Gmax Butterfree. Okay, simpler choice here. Mega Houndoom narrowly takes it over Mega Tyranitar. Mega Tyranitar is awesome though. A lot of options here. Mega Rayquaza stands out to me more than anything else, I think, so that's the pick. And for a second I was like, why isn't Gallade here? Because it's the Gen 4 Pokemon, it'll be here. And easily the pick of this lot. Gen 5. Mostly Pokestar Studios stuff. I'm not allowing Pokestar Studios on this list. So it's one of these two. Don't really care at all about Mega Audino. It's definitely Gmax Garbodor. I'm not a Garbodor fan, but the toys and stuff in its body when it Gigantamaxes kind of won me over a little bit. Gen 6, oh my goodness. Why are they... A lot of these showed up in the generations for the... Like, a lot of these showed up in the Gen 1 list as well, but... I guess because this was the debut of Mega Evolution. Well, Mega Diancie it is. I think Mega Gallade takes it over Mega Diancie, actually. And 7, I don't know why they're calling Ultra Necrozma a gimmick form. I guess because it's a Mega Evolution-like transformation. Let's go Alolan Ninetales. And 8, oh my goodness. I don't love that we're grouping regional variants this way. I understand it, but I don't love it. But I will play by the rules of the game. And the rules of the game allow me to choose Galarian Articuno here. Sinistcha, solid design. Or Stellar Form Terapagos, over the top weird. I'm picking over the top weird. And my favorite of all of these, I think it's Mega Gallade. Legendaries, Articuno, but you knew that. Kinda decided on Ho-Oh by this point. Don't really need to say too much about Kyogre either. My favorite Gen 4 Legendary, and I see they've also included Mythicals. It's really not my favorite generation for Legendaries. Giratino's alright. Heatran's alright. Dialga's alright. Oh, Shaman. No, I'll go Darkrai. Gen 5. I think Reshiram can have this one. Gen 6. Yeah, it's Xerneas. No surprise there, I'm sure. Gen 7, it's Lunala. We've thought through a lot of these already, which is kind of nice, because legendary Pokemon tend to be grouped together with similar type combinations. I think it's Galarian Articuno here. And Chien-Pao or Terastal form Terapagos. I actually think it's Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao has a lot of the ingredients that I like in a Pokemon. And my favorite legendary is Articuno. Knew that. Favorite Gen 1 Pokemon, Gengar. Favorite Gen 2 Pokemon, from all the categories we've done before, Ho-Oh. 3. Probably Kyogre. I do think it's Kyogre. 4. Apparently we're allowing Mega Gallade in Gen 4, so... Is it that or is it Mismagius? I do like my ghost types. I think it's Mismagius. Surprise! Gen 5, Superior. Gen 6. Xerneas. Gen 7. Blacephalon or Mimikyu or Lunala. What a good generation for ghost types this was. I think it's Mimikyu. I think Mimikyu has a lot going for it that Blacephalon and Lunala, like all these Pokemon are amazing in different ways, but Mimikyu just has so much packed into its design so successfully, like I talked about earlier. I think that's the one. Come on. Gen 8. Sneasler really is a funny guy. Gen 9. I'm gonna go Walk and Wake. And my overall favorite. I said way earlier who my favorite Pokemon is. Maybe I should have preserved some suspense. Oh well. Favorite regional bird. Pretty broad definition here. Spearow, Hoot Hoot. Here's where we give Wingull its due. Mammal. Rattata is very cute. Zigzagoon is very cute. Lechonk is very cute. I'll go Zigzagoon. Bug. Caterpie is adorable. Ladybuzz is adorable. After that, they kind of fall off, to be honest. They're the legend. Sure. Dragonite. For sure. I love the original dragon there. Favorite Pika clone. There are so many, and most of them are just Pikachu. Not really a clone. I guess it's Mimikyu, though. Favorite evolution. That is a tough one. I don't really know what G-Max Eevee is doing here, but it's Espeon, for sure. Favorite fossil. It's Aerodactyl, or it's one of the Gen 6 ones. And I actually think it's Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum is such... It's a big, intimidating dinosaur with kind of a regal, but also kind of a bully crybaby baby motif to it, with the dragon typing and a lot of interesting moves that it learns. They did really well with that one. Their original form. Gotta be Alolan Ninetales. Favorite Gigantamax. Blastoise, Butterfree, Alcremie. I think it's Butterfree. Favorite baby. Pichu is very cute. Some of these are adorable, and some of them are kind of just like taking a small thing and making it too small. Pichu, Mantike, Magby are all very cute. What did I click on? Oh, I clicked on Pichu. I think that is my answer. The only other real contender is Mantike. Favorite box legendary. Guess I'm gonna stick to my Gen 2 guns, and even though I was a silver version kid, I did pick Ho-Oh over Lugia earlier. Favorite mythical. Celebi. I have, because of the history that I have with it, using it on that battle and Shoddy Battle and Pokemon Online and Showdown all those years. Favorite Ultra Beast. Naganadel. Already covered that. Favorite Paradox. Definitely Walk and Wake. Favorite type. Ghost. Favorite Pokeball. Oh man. The Dive Ball is a very good one. Beast Ball is great. Is this supposed to be the GS Ball? That's not what the GS Ball looks like. But I'm beating around the bush. I already know the answer. It's the Moon Ball. It has such a unique, interesting design. Favorite Spinda. What on earth are we looking at here? This one looks cool. Favorite Vivillon. That's actually... Well, I was going to say conveniently enough, but I don't know whether it's a lucky coincidence or whether the one thing determined the other. But it's my local Vivillon. This one. Polar form, I think it is. Favorite Alcremie? I don't know, man. The green one looks nice. Alright. Let's embrace the contrast. Favorite new evolution. Oh, I see. New evolution to an old Pokemon. Playing a little fast and loose with some of these. Espeon. Great. Mismagius. It's gotta be Mismagius. Gotta be. And there we have it. What does this do? Oh, I see. Pick a team box. Click a team box, then a Pokemon from the grid. Maybe I'll do this later. Maybe I could get like a VGC video out of this. Maybe that'll be a little more interesting. But there we go. That's a hardcore breakdown of my favorite Pokemon. That took way longer than I think it would. But hey, I got to talk up a lot of guys that I really like. This is a solid group all the way along here. So hey, I guess let me know in the comments if you feel very strongly about any of my opinions being wrong, but you shouldn't, because my opinions are clearly top-notch. But yeah, I'll put this in the description. Check it out yourself if you're not familiar with it already. And back to battle content soon, or playthrough content, or whatever, I'm sure.